Hello and welcome back to the Sports Sermon. I'm Dylan Saggy here today,
I'm Jason Gandhi.
And I'm Dane Majors.
and today we will be covering our next NBA What's Next. Today we will be talking about the Philadelphia 76ers. So the Sixers, the process, that's through the draft, obviously getting all those high draft picks these last few years, and have another one this year at number 3. Jason, what do you think they should do with their draft picks this year?
Well, I think that since the Sixers are so accustomed to lottery picks, they're in another scenario where they really cannot mess it up. Last time they had the third pick, they took Joel Embiid, and if he could stay on the court, he looks like a budding star in the NBA. So, with this third pick, I think you have one of three options. You've got Josh Jackson, Malik Monk, or De'Aaron Fox. When you look at Josh Jackson, you've got the best defensive prospect in the draft. He's got elite athleticism, and he would be the best player available, assuming Lonzo and Markelle go 1 and 2. So that's one option, is if you don't want to fill a need, you want to go best player available. Then if you want to go somewhere in between, you could look at De'Aaron Fox, who's got great defense just like Josh Jackson, good passing vision, and is the best guard available, but doesn't have that shooting. So Josh Jackson and De'Aaron Fox, both best player availables at their position, but neither of them can shoot, and that's kind of been the issue for the Sixers the last few years, is they have all these players, but nobody that can actually shoot the ball. So that's where Malik Monk comes into play, because how much they need shooting, it fills that need. He's probably the best shooter in the draft, and it fills a need of a guard. So me personally, I would go Malik Monk. I think whoever gets Josh Jackson and De'Aaron Fox are getting a steal because they're better players than Malik Monk, but I'm bigger on drafting for need than drafting for best player available, because sometimes that draft player that you picked for the need could be the player that gets you to the next level. So I go Malik Monk if it was me at trusting the process with the Philadelphia 76ers.
See, I have one of your three, Jason. I have Malik Monk in mine. But the reason I don't have Fox or Jackson is because neither of them can shoot the basketball. And with Ben Simmons already out on the floor, not being the greatest shooter, I think they need someone to stretch the floor. And Malik Monk can really do that. He's a great shooter. I also had Jason Tatum. And honestly, I think whoever they pick really depends on what they want to do with Ben Simmons. If they want to stick him at the point guard position and have him run the one, then Jason Tatum, I think, should be the pick. He can fill that need at the 3 position and be a good scorer for the Sixers. But if they want to put Ben Simmons at a more traditional small forward position, I think Malik Monk is the way to go.
I don't know. I think that when I'm looking at the Sixers, they wouldn't put Simmons, start him at the 1. I think they'd start him at the 3, but then maybe middle of the second, middle of the third, switch him over to point guard. So I don't know. I think that's maybe it's just me. I think that's a little high for Tatum. Do you guys agree? Or Dan, do you agree, or do you think?
Yeah, that's a little high.
Yeah,
I mean, I see what you're saying about how it gets that wing plus shooting need that Jackson doesn't have. So I like it. I just feel like if you're going to do that, try to trade back to the Suns, even to 4. I mean, you saw it in the NFL draft.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about that later, trading back possibly for Tatum. So, Dan, what do you have?
I haven't taken either Monk or Fox, definitely, because, I mean, those are the best 2 players in the draft after Fultz and Ball.
Or you don't like Jackson?
Jackson's solid, but I feel like they should get a guard to complement their Embiid and Simmons. So with the second rounders, I would definitely keep most of their second rounders because they need a lot of young talent. I would definitely look at Hart and Dwayne Bacon if he falls, maybe even Frank Jackson from Duke. But yeah, those are definitely some guys I would look at.
Yeah, I had a bunch of guards listed actually for the second round. The Sixers really need some more depth at the guard position, and I think if they take some flyers on a few guys, maybe one of them can turn out to be a starter in the NBA, such as Josh Hart, Tyler Dorsey, Edmund Sumner, Melo Trimble, Nigel Williams-Goss, and Frank Mason, and maybe take one or two of those picks and go international since they have so many second-round picks.
Yeah, I went a few guards, but really at that 36th pick, there's no guard that's there that's worth taking, in my opinion, at 36, unless one falls that we're not expecting. So at 36, I looked at someone like Sindarius Thornwell, Dylan Brooks, Kyle Kuzma, or Semi Ojeleye. I think those 4 all give you that shooting type wing that we just mentioned they don't have. And so if they do take a De'Aaron Fox from Malik Monk, now they've got obviously not as good Jason Tatum that you mentioned,
But if I think you get one of those if they're there, but then at 39 you kind of do the opposite. You look at Frank Mason at 39. You're going to obviously jump higher than most teams would for him, but it's worth it because it fills that point guard. If you got Josh Jackson, now you've got your point guard that could be a lesser Malik Monk or De'Aaron Fox and bring in. And if they take Monk or Fox and realize they don't need another guard, some other big guys I looked at would be Swanigan, Leiden, Bryant, or DJ Wilson. So just some names there with those second round picks to look at. And obviously, I think they'll go international for at least 2, if not more.
All right. So that's it, at least for now. We'll revisit the draft maybe later in the trade conversation. But let's move on to free agency for the 76ers. Some free agents that make sense. Dan, what do you have?
I got them picking up J.J. Redick. I think that would be huge for them to give Simmons and Embiid a great wing that can knock down the 3-ball. And then I feel like they should pick up some young guys to obviously help them out with their young talent, and I think that they should pick up Trey Burke or Ian Clark. So,
all right, Ian Clark's an interesting name I did not expect you to throw out there.
I went kind of for the home run. Like, if everything worked out well, I think the Sixers look at Kyle Lowry. He's a hometown guy, went to Villanova, and has kind of expressed some interest in going back. I think if you bring Kyle Lowry in, but the problem is free agency is after the draft. So if you bring Kyle Lowry in, then I think it makes it pretty clear you take Josh Jackson or, in Dylan's case, Jason Tatum. And if you look at that lineup, you go Kyle Lowry, even put Tatum at the 2, Simmons, Saric, and Embiid. That's a lineup I'm not wanting to play in a year or two. So I think Lowry would be the home run. If you're going to go on a lesser scale, I think someone, like you mentioned, at guard spot would be Patty Mills. He's an unrestricted free agent, really played well at the Spurs, and the Spurs might not be able to afford him if they go for Chris Paul in that home run. So I'd look at Patty Mills or Trey Burke, as you mentioned. And then, lastly, I think you look at Willie Reed or Dwayne Dedman at the center position to help replace Jahlil Okafor, because I think Okafor will be traded by the trade deadline at the latest of this year. He has not gelled well in Philadelphia, and so I think you try to get that replacement now in free agency.
I also said Lowry like you, Jason. I think the home run, obviously, they have to at least try for it. They can accelerate their development at least by 2 or 3 years, I think, if they get Lowry and have another piece, another guard to fill in that starting lineup, and a star in the NBA. And another guy I mentioned, or that I think the Sixers should take a look at, is possibly a reunion with Nerlens Noel. Maybe if they, depending on what they want to do with Jahlil Okafor, if they want to get rid of Okafor, I think Nerlens Noel could make a contribution and come back not fighting for minutes with Okafor anymore.
Yeah, I think mentioning Okafor, that kind of goes into my trade if no one else has got more free agents. My trade I look at would be Jahlil Okafor and a 2019 second rounder for Derek Favors and Tiago Splitter to the Jazz. I think Favors gives you still a big guy, and Splitter I think they'd cut but would fill up their salary because they would lose some salary there in Okafor. Giving up second rounders nothing for the Sixers because they have so many picks. Get rid of Okafor, start over, get a solid 4 in Favors who could maybe even let Saric come off the bench and be a 6 Man of the Year contender, and then you've got Tiago Splitter I think you'd obviously cut. But that would be the trade I'd look at, Okafor and a 2019 second rounder for Favors and Tiago Splitter.
Yeah, I've heard some trade rumors lately about the Sixers trading up for number 1 pick for the Celtics. So I've got the Sixers trading their number 3 pick, the 2018 Lakers unprotected pick, and Dario Saric for Boston's number 1 overall pick. This would be a blockbuster trade, and now the Sixers can pick the best player in the draft.
I think Boston would jump over that trade. So, like, if I'm Boston, I am running so far to that phone. Like, yes. Don't even ask anybody else. Don't ask Danny Ainge. Don't ask nobody. Whoever hears that trade first is accepting that. You're getting 2 lottery picks and Dario Saric for the first pick, and you're only going down to the 3rd pick. I think that is a must-do for the Celtics if that happens.
Yeah, I definitely agree. My trade is going to be kind of similar to what happened in the NFL draft, actually, where the Bears traded up to the number 2 pick for Mitchell Trubisky. But this time, the Suns are trading up from number 4 to number 3, swapping picks with the Sixers, and the Suns can get their pick of guys, whereas I think the Sixers really wouldn't care as much. Also going to the Sixers, I think Brandon Knight, a guy who really isn't fitting too well with the Suns, a lot of guards there, and the Suns really don't need him right now. And also number 39 pick going back to the Suns, another young guy they can draft in the second round.
Well, I like that trade, except for I think that Brandon Knight would not be enough. I think you'd have to give up somebody like Eric Bledsoe. I know
Really?
it sounds dumb, but I feel like if I'm the Sixers and like you said, they don't really care who they get, make the Suns overpay and try to get Eric Bledsoe. I think they would make that happen because either way, the Sixers are in a good position.
I think you would ask for it if you're the Sixers, but I wouldn't do that if I was the Suns.
Well, I agree. I just think if the Suns are that big on moving up to number 3, like they think that Jackson or Monk's their guy, and they think the Sixers are going to take him, just like Trubisky was the Bears guy, and they thought the Niners would take him. You have to do what you have to do to trade up, and so that's why I think you'd ask for Bledsoe and say either take him or leave him, or we're going to take your guy hypothetically, whether they do or not.
All right, well, that's it for our trades. Let's move on to headlines for next year for the Sixers. Jason, what is your headline?
Mine is keep developing, but wait till next year. They've got the Lakers' first-round pick, their first-round pick, and in Dan's scenario, another first-round pick. So, I think if I'm the Sixers, I keep developing Embiid. Hope he can stay on the court once in a while, and get Simmons on the court. Get all their young guys to play together. Get some chemistry, but then use those 2 lottery picks. Hopefully, the Lakers aren't in the lottery, but get those 2 lottery picks and run with it and really start to be a dynasty in these next few years, similar to what the Warriors did, only they won't need a KD in free agency.
Yeah, I say the process can be trusted. The Sixers, I think, make a step in the right direction by getting a top 3 player in the draft and now have a core with Embiid, Simmons, and then either Fultz, Ball, Fox, or Monk, or maybe even Jackson. So,
All right, for mine, I'm going to go kind of the opposite of you two. When will the process end? You got to be looking forward to some wins sometime soon for the Sixers. They've been bad for a long time, tanking and building up this process, and now they've got to look to try and start winning, getting their young guys together, and start winning some basketball games and be in playoff contention in the next couple of years.
To answer your headline, I think the process ends when their stars start getting on the court. If Embiid and Simmons can finally play together, sounds like the process will end soon. But if Embiid still cannot play for more than 39 games, and Simmons, whatever's happening with his foot, can't be solved, then it's going to keep continuing. So I think it's all really just dependent on the injuries and when they can come back.
All right, well, let's move on to our daily top 5. Today, since the Sixers have the number 3 pick in the NBA draft, we are going to rank our top 5 number 3 picks of all time in the NBA draft. So, Dan, who is your number 5?
I got Kevin McHale at number 5, 3-time NBA champion, 7-time All-Star. McHale at 5.
I've got Chauncey Billups at 5. I have Kevin McHale a lot lower down on my list.
Lower?
Or like higher technically,
Oh,
but like
okay.
lower number wise on my list. I have Chauncey Billups, great player for the Pistons, brought him a championship, and yeah, I mean there's not much else to say. He didn't do much besides that championship. Just a solid player, starter, and good player in the NBA.
I'm going to go with Penny Hardaway at my number 5. The only reason I didn't have him higher, I think, is because of his injuries and really not being able to win a championship in his NBA career. But Penny Hardaway, a very solid player. Obviously, his duo with Shaq for a long time was great, but did not ever win a championship, and his injuries shortened his career.
All right, number 4. I also have Penny. You kind of said it. If he would have stayed healthy, he could have been one of the greatest players to play. He showed so many flashes of greatness with Shaq. Couldn't stay on the court, but when he did, boy, was he good. I got Penny coming in at number 4.
Number 4, I got Dominique Wilkins, human highlight film. Great player.
Yep, I have him at 4 too. Jason?
I've got Wilkins at 3, and he did it all for the Hawks, and really no one else there that was better than Dominique Wilkins to fill in the number 3.
I've got Pete Maravich at 3. He had a short career, but was very fun to watch.
At my number 3, I'm going to go with Chauncey Billups. Jason mentioned it earlier. finals, won the finals MVP for the Pistons, and I've had him ahead of Wilkins and Hardaway because of that performance in the finals.
All right. I, at my number 2, have Kevin McHale. Dan, you mentioned him at number 5. Was surprised by that. I think he was one of the most dominant big men at the time in the 80s for the Celtics and really helped lead them to so many championships with Bird. So I have got Kevin McHale at number 2.
I also have McHale at number 2, a part of those great Celtics 80s teams, and just a great player, one of the best of all time.
Yeah, I got Chauncey Billups at number 2.
All right, and number 1, I think we can all agree on this one, Michael Jordan.
Yeah, there's no real debate. Some people say he's either first or second greatest of all time, but Michael Jordan is the GOAT in my opinion. I think it's pretty undecided right now with LeBron, but LeBron wasn't number 3 pick, so I think it's pretty obvious Michael Jordan's the best number 3 overall pick.
Yep, Jordan.
All right, so looking into next week, or the rest of this week and next week, we have got tomorrow, we've got the New York Jets season preview. And
that'll be an interesting one.
Yeah, it's going to be a rough one to record. Then, looking into Friday, we're going to have 2 for you. It's going to be the finals, Game 3. I know it's a day late, but we will be doing the finals recap of Game 3. But also, we will have the Bengals season preview. Bengals season preview coming out on Friday. So 2 in 1 day special. And then on Saturday, we sum it up. We finish off the week with the Brooklyn Nets and what's next for them without any of their lottery draft picks for the next year or so. So, good schedule coming up. Of course, we'll have finals recaps after all of the games. Thank you for listening, and we will see you tomorrow with the New York Jets.
Yeah, thank you guys for listening, and if you enjoyed this video, please hit a like on the like button. Subscribe if you want to see the rest of our NBA What's Next series, and follow us on Twitter at The Sports Sermon. We'll tweet out every time we post a new video or post an article. So again, thank you for listening, and we will see you tomorrow.